Mrparka here to do the best of 2014 horror cult genre movies, exploitation, you know, a mixture of things, anything that would be considered kind of odd. So there's going to be a range of no budget movies to high budget movies in here because I like everything. So really, if you're rating there's really no particular order. Some of these haven't been released over here yet. Some have been, released in other countries. Some have probably been released on, VOD a little bit before 2014, but I didn't catch them until 2014. So there's probably going to be a bunch of little mistakes here and there. And I also did not include stuff that I was involved with this year. I just think it's really odd and weird to do that at this point. I did last year just because I wasn't really thinking appropriately. It just doesn't come off. I mean, it doesn't come off correctly. I mean, people are going to be like, well, you can't take your word on that. And I guess that's probably true. But I just wanted to name some movies that, I mentioned last year that got a DVD release this year. The Cemetery, I think, was my number 50 last year. That finally got a DVD release. A movie called Beyond the Grave, which I did see this year, but that was released in like 2012 over here, and I just hadn't heard of it or anything like that. Crazy Brazilian horror movie. I'll be looking back and forth because I can't memorize this list off the top of my head. Don't have a printer, so here's my computer. But stuff I was involved with, I helped Dustin with Hornet Sting and the Hell It's Cause and Kill That Bitch and Skinless. And those all came out on DVD this year, and Skinless had a re-release. So I enjoyed Hornet Sting a lot. I enjoyed all of them, but then again, probably a lot of biased things there. And what else did I think? Make Them Die Sleazy was a really fun, low budget, no budget horror anthology. Proxy, which I did enjoy, but there was this huge, there was a plot hole to me in it, and I just couldn't get around it, and it really brought the rating down. Just cut it out and making the list. Open Grave, which I thought was unique. I'm not necessarily sure if that one came out this year. Disco Path, which was a Canadian horror film, which this guy hears disco music and he snaps every time. Really fun slasher movie. Time to Kill, which was a throwback exploitation style movie with Ellie Church by Brian Williams, which is a pretty cool movie, a lot of fun. And Mutantis, which is by the guys who did Isle of the Damned, Pleasures of the Damned, and Seventh Day, which is a lot of fun, really hokey, really silly stuff. So let me hop in here. The top 50 I actually have. Let me make this smaller so I can actually probably see them all. I guess I'll start in the end and just start building the way up. Again, I remind you, this list isn't like 100% set in stone. In fact, when I was going through, I had like 101 movies on the list that were over 6 out of 10s. So, I mean, I had to make lots of cuts, and, I probably watched these movies once or twice. If you see it again, sometimes they don't hold up. Sometimes other movies are better. So it's really hard, and when you're watching that many movies a year, you don't remember every little detail about a movie. You see it once, and then sometimes you just have to move along, even if you do want to stay with it and revisit it and, study it and find out if it is a perfect movie or not or anything like that to you. But you really can't do that. So just as this first glance on most of these movies, I've always seen one time, maybe twice if I was lucky. But number 50 is A Measure of Sin, which is kind of a really unique, weird movie. It's an apocalyptic movie, but it really feels like frontier times. And the ending is really packs a punch. I really enjoyed the way it was made and shot, and it's just really smart. I like the movie. Horns is 49 with Daniel Radcliffe by the guy who did The Hills Have Eyes The Hills Have Eyes remake and High Tension. And I believe the Piranha remake as well, Piranha 3D. And Horns was actually pretty good. I did feel that there were some problems with it. I just felt like I knew the whole time, the kind of twist. I don't even know. It was so obvious to me. I didn't even know if it was supposed to be a twist. But there's a lot of good dark comedy elements in it, and it is very enjoyable. I think the first act is better than the last act. The first half's better than the second half, to me at least. The Taking of Deborah Logan, which I would never watched if I didn't. Actually, the funny thing about this is I heard it on the Bloodsprayer podcast. And they were talking about it, and they spoiled it, and they said they were going to spoil it. And without that spoiler, I wouldn't have watched the movie because it just looked like a found footage generic movie. And I have seen so many found footage movies lately. I get lots of, sometimes I like really low budget found footage movies or any rating of budget found footage movies, and I'm just kind of sick of it. But this one was kind of a pleasant surprise. It was well acted, and the twist was pretty fairly unique, but I enjoyed it. It was kind of creepy, and they have the woman having Alzheimer's, I think, was kind of a, set in realism in a way. It made it more realistic. the remake, or the kind of semi-remake sequel to The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This one probably would have been higher up on the list, except that I thought the ending was really cheap. I thought the ending, I was like, are you serious? That's the ending? Are you guys kidding with me? But yeah, it was pretty cool. It incorporates the original film, the actual case, and these new series of murders going on. I enjoyed it. Saw some Edward Herrmann, I believe, is in it, who is a pretty good actor. And it's solid. The kills are pretty graphic. It's definitely harder R. The original Town That Dreaded Sundown, I think, is a PG, which I do enjoy. But this one's definitely harder than that one. Then we have Wolf Creek 2. Which, you know, Wolf Creek 1 is definitely a slow burn, more serious movie. And I always thought it was okay. I never got into it. I saw it the one time and I was like, that's enough for me. But Wolf Creek 2, as like I've heard said around, they kind of Freddy Krueger the Killer up. He's just this like larger than life racist piece of crap, dropping one-liners, slicing people up in gory detail. It's more of a fun slasher movie, and to see the actor get to, you know, go into this character and just go buck wild and insane was actually really fun. It's very enjoyable. It's very stupid at the times too. I mean, like just the one-liners and stuff he says though, but it's so entertaining. It's like Freddy Krueger in Wolf Creek 1 or something like that. Even though he was a very memorable character in the first one, except this one follows him a lot closer, and you get more one-liners, you get more kills and gore and stuff like that. And that's not everything about a horror movie, but this one, it does that kind of stuff really well, and it's a lot of fun in a sick kind of way. As fun as mass murder can be, I guess. But then we have Lord of Tears. I'm not sure if it's been released here. It was a UK film. Maybe it was even released last year in UK. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last year. But Lord of Tears, I believe, deserves some recognition. You know, it's been a long time since I watched it, but I do remember it being very creepy, very different, very haunting, and it had so much atmosphere in it, and it just looked, it was a very creepy movie. About, has an owl man in it, and of course it has a twist, and they do, you know, hints and things like that. It's really well made, kind of a really scary movie, to be honest, in a lot of ways. That's the Lord of Tears. Then we have Housebound, which is from New Zealand, and you know, lots of people hype this one up. They're like, it's great, it's great, it's great. So when I saw it, I was like, eh, and I did enjoy it. It is true what a lot of people are saying. It keeps changing films on you, and it is refreshing, because sometimes you'll figure it out and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to finish this because it's just this, and then it will change to something else, which is cool. Housebound is it's a pretty entertaining movie, kind of cool. Freaky at times, funny. It's a good mixture, and I think people enjoy it. It captures the horror comedy element really well. In the House of Flies, which is a Canadian film, I talked about this one a few times, so if you want to check out the review or the other video I did of it. But a couple gets thrown into these, you know, it's your typical Saw kind of story, where it's Henry Rollins' voice kind of this couple trying to survive, kind of like Silent Scream. But I enjoyed it because the people didn't turn on each other, and it didn't make it seem like humanity's super bleak all the time, you know. At points it does, but not really. Like, these two have a love for each other, so they don't just turn to retarded monsters or something and start killing each other immediately like every other movie, it seems like. Haunted Trailer. This one is just too stupid not to love. Really gross, really raunchy, really childish, but very entertaining about these rednecks in a haunted trailer, and just I cannot stress how weird this movie is. Check out the review or the trailer or something on that, but it's just wild and goofy, and a lot of fun if you like the gross out kind of stupid stuff in there. Ron Jeremy's in it. It's by the guys who did the movie a lot. I think some of the guys involved with Conjoined were involved with this one, but I enjoyed it. Only Lovers Left Alive. This one is definitely a slow burn. Some people would call it very pretentious, but it's essentially just Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston, you know, Loki from the Avengers. They're old vampires, and they're kind of just moping around their areas and things like that. There's very little bit of horror elements in it, but you know, it is kind of entertaining, and it's kind of cool to have Christopher Marlowe in it as a vampire. I think it's kind of a funny touch. But I've enjoyed, you know, Jim Jarmusch's other movies like Dead Man and A Ghost Dog, stuff like that. But then we have Aftermath, which kind of surprised me. You know, such a generic title, but essentially it's just a post-apocalyptic movie with these people in the cellar, you know, and they're kind of getting picked off here and there. But that's not really what to like about it. I mean, that's very generic. What to like about it is that they build up the characters fairly decent, and there's a really exciting ending, and I'm a sucker for that, building up characters and then just having this, you know, third act where it just gets crazy and lots of insane action stuff happens, and the very ending has that, and I kind of like that. It shows that these people didn't always get along, but when it comes to that kind of thing, that they're in it together, and I enjoyed that. You know, it does seem typical at points, but it's good what it does. And then we have Best Friends Forever, which I watched quite a bit ago, which is about these two girls going cross country with a post-apocalyptic world happening. Again, I enjoyed it. I like the characters. It is kind of, I guess quirky, I'd say. The movie's definitely quirky. Some weird things happen and stuff like that. But odd characters. But I enjoyed it. Best Friends Forever. Didn't hear anyone talk about that movie. Ty West's The Sacrament is number 38. And, another found footage movie, surprisingly. And I wasn't a huge fan of his VHS segments and his ABC's of Death segment, but I did always like House of the Devil, and I even like Cabin Fever too, which I know you can see the problems in it and stuff like that, mostly editing problems, but it's enjoyable nonetheless to me. But this one is pretty cool. A.J. Bowen's in it, and Swanberg. And, I never really cared for, I think it's Joe Swanberg is his name, and it's not his acting at all in movies, it's his characters. I always would just be really frustrated, like in the VHS segment. I'm like, I cannot stand this segment, I just hate it to its very core. But seeing him in stuff like Proxy this year and this one, I realized that, he can play a likable or an interesting character. Sometimes it's really just not. And You're Next, I didn't care for him either. I mean, he was the best character and best in the movie. I thought everyone else was just, that's a movie I wasn't a huge fan of myself. But, I just didn't. He was the best character in that movie, but all the characters were throwaway characters, really, to me. But that's The Sacrament, which is kind of like the Jonestown case, but found footage, and it's of course a little different. I wasn't very familiar with the case, so I enjoyed watching the film. It was entertaining, and the interview he has in front of the group of people is a really powerful scene. The guy who plays the cult leader does a really great job in that moment. Life After Beth, which is definitely a Zomcom type deal about this guy's girlfriend dying, and John C. Reilly's her father, and they kind of like hide. She comes back, and they kind of are trying to hide it, but she doesn't know she's dead yet. And of course, what do zombies do? They eat people. They cause trouble. But that's just the tip of the iceberg on this one. But it's a lot of fun. It's really silly and lighthearted in ways, but also a little bit touching. I enjoyed it. That is Life After Beth. And 36 Beneath. I know this movie got enough hate from a lot of people, but I really enjoyed it. It's a Larry Fessenden movie who did, The Last Winter, which is the one I'm familiar with. And essentially, it's like, you guys ever see Creepshow 2 with the raft story? And they're on the raft, and they kind of, that blob thing comes out and starts, eating people, and they kind of turn against each other a little bit. But Beneath, instead, it's like 5 or 6 friends on a boat, lifelong friends. They're not good people, and in a zombie film, I'm definitely tired, in an apocalyptic movie, I'm definitely tired of seeing people go at each other's throats and that kind of situation where it's like, the zombies weren't the enemies, the people were. It's just been done to death. You're not going to top Romero. But Beneath it essentially is this giant, practical fish eating them, and there's like some sort of like cursed thing to it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And what I did like about it was the character that, the typical character, you're like, that guy's going to be a big piece of crap. I'm not going to like him. He's my favorite character. But I also think he's the best person, and which I also was kind of surprised by, because I was thinking this guy's going to snap kind of Cube style, but no, he doesn't. They all kind of are at each other's throats, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's not for everybody. I've heard people have complaints, and I understand their complaints, and they're justified, but I'm way past that, and I enjoyed it. Fractured, really weird movie here. I'm not even sure if it's really a horror movie. It's definitely it's definitely a genre film or whatever, a cult film or something like that. But this one has Vinnie Jones in it, and essentially special effects are by Jeremy Cruz and Fred Vogel from Toe Tag, so you get some really graphic, crazy, dreamlike, surreal stuff here. I definitely like the first 2 acts more than the third, I think. But it's really weird. This guy is losing his memory, and he goes back to figure out, and he's haunted by the things he's done, and he kind of discovers what he's done. It's like a film noir in a lot of ways, and there's some pretty good sexual stuff in here too, sex scenes and things like that. This one's different and definitely interesting enough to watch for sure. It's called Fractured. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, then we got Bad Chicken, which is so weird and ridiculous. You got to give it a shot. It's about in this world, chickens live with human beings, and they talk, and they're puppets. But there's this chicken film crew, and they're all bad chickens, of course, and they're making this reality TV show. But one's got all these tricks up his sleeve, and it's really entertaining. They go out in the desert, and he's trying to get the woman to kill the husband and things like that, and turn at each other. And the chickens are just very entertaining. The characters are awesome. I really enjoyed them. The chickens are awesome characters, but I enjoyed the movie, and I will never forget the line, "I'm going away kicking and screaming and kicking because I'm a bad chicken. Just the song he sings around the campfire is very memorable. The first half is way better than the second half to me. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then the second half I was like, it was good. That's bad chicken. And then Borgman, really weird movie here, very different, and definitely doesn't shove everything down your throat. You have to think a little bit, kind of guess what's going on. But it's essentially about these kind of like drifters who enter these rich people's family and they want something. You definitely figure out what they want. But very bizarre movie, very weird, and I enjoyed it quite a bit just because the way it's shot, and the opening's really great as well. That's Borgman. And then Eat, which is definitely a body horror film. And, you know, I have to mention this. I read a review online that somebody complained about it. But throughout the film, this woman essentially eats herself. But before she does it, she has flashes of, you know, kind of like fantasizing about eating herself more dramatically. Let's say she takes a little bite out of her arm. In her fantasy beforehand, she'll eat like half her arm. So at the end of the movie, it definitely blends reality with fantasy and things like that. And this person who reviewed it, I don't think understood that. And it really bothered me because if you're going to crap on a movie, just admit that you didn't understand certain parts of it, because they're like, well, that's just that, and I don't know, it just was not appropriate review, I don't think. Not that I make terrible reviews at times too, we all do, but I just don't think this movie got the fair shake in that review. But this is Eat, about a struggling actress, which is very familiar to another movie on this list, a struggling actress who, you know, has this weird fascination with eating herself. Pretty good movie as well, different. Fresh Meat, which I believe is a New Zealand or Australian movie, and this one is about this guy who's like a cannibal, and he's trying to become a god, and he has all these people come in. There's this prisoners escape, and they cross paths. A lot of fun, like over the top, gory, weird things. I enjoyed it. I don't remember it all that much at this point, considering I probably watched it at the very beginning of the year. It's called Fresh Meat. It's very enjoyable, very cool. And we have the Babadook at 30. I know this probably would be higher up on a lot of other people's list, but it just, you know, it had a major hype to it, and it is a very well-made movie and very well thought out, and it's the type of movie that shows you things without hitting you over the head with it, and I dig that. But it is scary in moments, but lots of people say if you have a kid, it has a bigger impact. I don't have kids, so that impact is gone. But it is scary. It does create really good, you know, tension. It's well acted, and it's a good movie. I think that people argue about what it's about, but I think it's kind of obvious in a lot of ways. Maybe people will point more things out, but, you know, those are the kind of movies that are kind of fun to watch more than once, just to, you know, in a different light and see what you think about it and things like that. And then 29, surprisingly enough, I was trying to go, you know, I was going through lots of people's top lists to see what I missed. I still missed a bunch of them. I didn't get a chance to watch Honeymoon or lots of other movies too. But Oculus, I watched Oculus, which is not my style. You know, I'm not big into ghost stories. I mean, older ghost stories are better, but this one, I heard lots of good things, and you know what? I enjoyed it. I thought the editing was really good at the end, mixing the children with the adults and things like that. And just for such a simple story, a haunted mirror, you know, it was really well made and well thought out for what it was. It didn't take it. I mean, it took the script seriously. Whoever wrote it took it seriously. I mean, they wrote it very well for what it was. And this could have easily just been a throwaway movie, and it wasn't. It was well made for what it was. I enjoyed it. It was pretty cool. That's Oculus. And then the Scavenger Killers, which is just ridiculous kind of style movie about a judge and I think a defense attorney or something like that going on a cross-country kill spree. It has a lot of people in it that you wouldn't expect. Eric Roberts is in it, and Screech from Saved by the Bell. But it's very gory, very sexually charged movie, and really raunchy and just insane and over the top and lots of violence, but very entertaining in the same way. It's Scavenger Killers. Then we have Stage Fright, not to be confused with the old Sovia protege of Argento's Stage Fright, which I absolutely love. This one is a musical horror film that has Meatloaf in it, about a summer camp, you know, kind of Glee kind of summer camp, putting on a play, and there's a killer hacking them and killing them and things like that. You know, maybe pretty predictable at points, but there's some laughs in it and some gore in it, and it's really stylized and completely different than a lot of other horror films I see. You know, so I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Fun stuff to me. The Canal was 26. Now this one I heard on a different list. I think it was Killer POV, and I had never heard of it. And so I put it in, and you know, I rented it, I think, on VOD or something like that. And lots of people are comparing it to Sinister, which I missed out. You know, I don't watch everything, which is bad, especially considering people absolutely love those movies, love that movie, or not love that movie, but lots of movies that I didn't watch that they loved. Like I never saw The Conjuring or Sinister or stuff like that, which I should be hit over the head, I guess, according to lots of other fans. But like I said, that's not typically my favorite genre. But The Canal, I actually enjoyed. It was actually creepy, and the trailer's what sucked me in. The end of the trailer says something. Canal, 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 keeps repeating it. Really freaked me out, so I had to see the movie. And the visual stuff in the end of the trailer really caught me, so I had to see it. And it is in the movie, and it is pretty creepy. There's some pretty creepy stuff in here, but it's kind of your guy going crazy in this house and maybe slightly being possessed, kind of weird story. You know, woman, possibly, woman, you know, his wife, kind of. I don't want to give too much away, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty cool, pretty creepy in a way. I liked it. And then we have 25, Billy Club, which was a surprise because, you know, nowadays lots of slashers are coming out and they're just so self-aware or so, like, you know, homages or parodies of everything. And Billy Club, you know, it is similar to slasher movie, of course, but it's really, you know, the characters are well thought out. The killer has a great weapon, a good motive, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, and the bat he uses with all the razor blades and I believe the razor spikes on it and stuff, and then it like a knife comes out. It's a really cool slasher movie, really great modern slasher movie, and I think it was the best slasher movie this year to me. It's called Billy Club. You guys should check that one out. And the ending's also very cool. Then The Battery, which is kind of definitely like a zombie movie without many zombies. It's definitely character driven here. And it's basically about two people surviving during a zombie apocalypse, and most of it takes place in one location, you know, and, you know, explaining that to someone, like, you gotta check it out, it's a zombie movie without zombies, and they're just in a car, most of it. They're gonna be like, that sounds like crap. But a lot of times when you think about lots of really good movies, like, the locations are limited, like Reservoir Dogs, or, you know, they're just, like, 3 or 4 guys yelling at each other in a warehouse, and it's very entertaining to me. But The Battery, you know, I'm a big character guy, and the characters are pretty well thought out and pretty developed, and I enjoyed the movie. It's good stuff. That's The Battery, also made for like $6,000, and it's better than you think for $6,000 for sure. Good movie, good movie. Then we have Starry Eyes at 23, which is another body horror film about a struggling actress. See, that must be, you know, kind of a reoccurring thing this year. But this one's pretty cool as well. The lead actress in this one is phenomenal, and the special effects are pretty good. I enjoyed this one. I'd say it's pretty good. I think also Contracted. Maybe that would be considered last year, but that's another body horror movie that didn't make the cut for me. But yeah, Starry Eyes is a really cool movie, and creepy as well, and I'd say check that one out. That was definitely, I know that, and a lot of other times it would be higher up. Then we have Wetlands at 22. Definitely not a horror movie. Like I said, this is more of a cult genre thing. Now, occult horror, it's like a, you know, fringe kind of genre where it's like it doesn't really fit in anything else. But Wetlands, really weird movie about this really eccentric girl who she's essentially in the hospital the whole time, and, you know, her life flashes back and things like that, and why she's so kind of, in a way, self-destructive. I mean, but yeah, there's a couple really gross out moments in here. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a really good movie, really touching in a lot of ways, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was a really, you know, the anti-love movie, the anti-love story kind of movie, just not your typical romantic comedy, I guess, romantic comedy drama. It's different. It's like I said, but it's pretty cool. Then we have Apocalypse Kiss, which surprised the hell out of me. I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. Put it in, and it's about a serial killer going around. He's a cleanliness serial killer. Everything has to be super clean, and it's also this weird thing going on where it's possibly the apocalypse happening and things like that. Lots of actors, and Tom Hanks has a small role in it. But yeah, it definitely plays out as a film noir, and I really enjoyed this one. This one, you know, had guts too as well, and it's a really different sci-fi kind of horror movie. And you know, Lloyd Kaufman has a role in it, and usually, you know, you're like, oh well, it's Lloyd Kaufman. He's just going to do your typical phone it in, and his role's actually really good in this one. I was kind of surprised, but that's Apocalypse Kiss. That's probably the biggest shock to me. One of the most pleasantly surprised ones. Really like that one. It's really cool. Then at 20, we have The Guest, which I didn't really know. You know what? This was another one that I kept hearing people saying, this one's great, you got to see this one, you got to see this one. And so I didn't like the cover art either, but that doesn't mean anything in this day and age. So I ended up buying it and checking it out, and it was really a lot of fun. It kind of the story about this this family's son dies in the war, and Buddy comes back, says he's a friend of his, and kind of joins in, gets in the family and starts, making relationships. But of course, that's not all there is to it. He's bringing a lot of things along with him, and he's not necessarily on the level in a lot of ways. But it's very entertaining, really kind of like an action horror type movie. But the guy who plays the lead is really great in it, and all that. It's really well acted, and it's really a very entertaining movie. And I seen the shout out to Halloween 3 in there. And the ending, it somehow incorporates lots of cool things like a haunted house and really cool music and fog, and it's just like cool lights and stuff like that. It incorporates a lot of things that are really cool and somehow makes it work that you wouldn't think you would be able to, and I appreciated that a lot. Like I said, the order of these movies is not really that set in stone. It's just like, it's so hard to make an order when you do 50. It's just like, I don't even know how to do it. But Daddy's Little Girl, which I believe is an Australian one, and I know some people didn't like this, some people really enjoyed it. It's about a guy getting revenge for somebody killing his daughter, and it's really disturbing in a lot of ways, but it's kind of unique in a way because you're like rooting for this guy to do it. But I don't want to give anything else away with it. I'll give a twist away if I say anything else. But I like this one. It definitely feels, the first half feels like some Lifetime drama movie, and then it just gets crazy. 18. Bombshell Bloodbath. This one is, the trailer is amazing on this one. It's like one of my favorite trailers I've ever seen. Probably watched it like 50 times. But this movie just got released on DVD this year, but I saw it last year. And it's a lot of fun. It's about a guy whose wife dies, and he's trying to bring her back to life. It kind of has like that universal science fiction horror style plot line, but of course, he brings back a bunch of zombies, and there's this like zombies running around, and there's like this weird dream sequence where it seems straight out of a Fulci Italian horror film. The music's great in it, and I really enjoyed it. Really stylized movie, cool stuff. Then at number 17 we have High 8 Independent 8, which is, not all the stories in here are phenomenal, but it's 8 shot-on-video directors making, all these old shot-on, they're like going back to their, glory days and making these like shot-on-video horror movies, and it was really cool to see, Tim Ritter and Ron Bulk and stuff make another short, and they mix them all in, Marcus Cook, and a lot of them are really good and enjoyable. If you like shot-on-video movies, these are better than most of the shot-on-video movies from the heyday of them, but that is High 8 Independent 8, really cool stuff. And then we have Dead on Appraisal, which is another anthology film, with the first and the third story, I think, being the strongest. The middle one is decent, but it just doesn't fit the other two. It's really serious in tone and things like that. But the last two just have these elaborate, crazy special, the first and the last have these elaborate, crazy special effects, which I just could not get over. Like the first one is like kind of like a Thing-oriented story, and the third one's like this rock band kind of story with puppets and monsters and gore and everything. It's a really cool movie. I think people enjoy it. The middle one's kind of your typical The Night Andy Came Home kind of story, which isn't bad at all, but just kind of strange in that kind of in between that smorgasbord of weirdness. But then we have Big Bad Wolves at number 15. This is one of the first movies I saw this year, 2014, I mean. And yeah, it's definitely like a dark comedy crime film. Really weird about these guys who kidnapped this supposedly pedophile, and they're trying to find the girl he has kidnapped, and they're threatening him and torturing him and things like that, and you don't really know if he is or not. And there's lots of other things going on. Good performances, funny and kind of creepy all at the same time. That is Big Bad Wolves. Really good movie. I believe it's Israeli. Then we have Demon's Rook, which I really enjoyed. The main actor and the director. It creates this crazy mythology. It's about this guy who is being trained by this demon to protect, like, when he grows up, to protect this thing so the other demons don't get out. But they do get out, of course, and they all have these special powers, like they can raise the dead, take over people, create monsters, things like that. So you essentially have him versus like monsters and crazy things like that, gore flying everywhere, creatures, just lots of fun. The story is maybe a little bit muddled to people because it's really kind of confusing in little ways. I paid attention, so I caught on. I got what was going on. It's a little weird, definitely weird. Some of the side actors, maybe aren't amazingly great actors or anything like that, but that's Demon's Rook, and it's really different. Really liked it. Really looking forward what the director does next, the filmmakers involved with this. Yeah, but if you like fun, it's kind of like a bigger budgeted Demon Warp or something like that. Just, I mean, on the level of craziness. But Then we have Her Name Was Torment. This is, like I said, I am Dustin's good buddy, but I was not involved with this one at all. I had no clue. He just was shooting it, and I barely knew he was shooting it. But Her Name Was Torment is really kind of weird, Session 9 style in a lot of ways. You can tell he has a lot of mythology behind the movie. And I dig that when movies do a lot of mythology. I know Clive Barker always said that, and I always was intrigued by his films. Hellraiser and Nightbreed. I always love those movies because you could tell there was so much more in there, and you're like, I just want to pick at it, but then I don't want to pick at it too much because then I might just be knowing too much might just kind of make me be like, eh. But destroy the find out how a ship gets in a bottle. It kind of ruins the fun of it. But Her Name Was Torment is just really weird movie about this. What you see on the surface is this girl tearing this guy apart, and she has like some sort of God telling her to do it, and that's what she says, but she's really being interviewed by this doctor. You kind of figure out if she's telling the truth or she's crazy or stuff like that. Really, really different kind of stuff. Like I said, like Session 9 style in a lot of ways with the narration. I enjoyed it. Then we have Dead Snow 2 at number 12. I like Dead Snow 1. It's been a very long time since I've watched it, but Dead Snow 2 is bigger and crazier, and I love the ending of this movie. The ending just brings a smile to my face every time. That's probably one of the big punches that won me over on here, but it's just gory and over the top and ridiculous and just a blast, I guess people might say modern day Evil Dead 2 or 3 or Army of Darkness or something like that. I enjoyed it. Then we have Filth, which is definitely a crime film, but so bizarre about this, crooked detective and the things, his exploits and the things he does. And, it's really weird. There's lots of weird visuals in here, lots of twists and turns and things like that. But I really enjoyed the movie. It's pretty cruel, pretty bleak, but, I'm not always a fan of that. But sometimes when it's done well and in certain types of films, it's amazing. And this one, does it really well, and I dig it. It's also kind of there's some dark comedy in here, definitely. But that is Filth, really weird movie. Check that one out. What else do we have? I can't believe I'm going to say this. Just the title alone, I can't believe it's just on my top 50. But Zombeavers, lots of people are like, that sucks, blah, blah. And, like right when I saw the title, I was like, it's got to be like a sci-fi original. I'm not going to watch that because, I'm not into like the bad CGI creature movies that are like, we suck. It's great, isn't it? It's like, I mean, come on, man, at least try. Even if it sucks and you tried, I'll probably like it. Just because I can see heart in it. But Zombeavers. The beavers are mostly practical, and essentially it's about these kids that go out. Toxic waste. Toxic waste is like right in the beginning, going down a stream. I'm like, come on, man, redneck zombie style. I love it. That's just straight up my thing. Growing up in the '90s with the toxic waste and save the environment type deal. We had the Turtles. We had the Toxic Avenger. We had what else? We Captain Planet. It was just like embedded in our brain that toxic waste, creates monsters and things like that. And I dig that a lot. And the toxic waste essentially gets in the lake and where these kids are staying. And I've had conversations with people where we wish it would have been just like, what if the beavers were fighting lumberjacks or something like that? And we thought that would be way better. You get all these old like character actors in there. It'd just be really awesome. It's like we get like Michael Ironside and Robert Patrick and stuff like that. It would be a lot of fun. But it's just kids again, it's kind of horror style. But what happens is these beavers are mutated and they start attacking them, and they're pretty fun looking. It's really gory and silly, but it's just a lot of fun, and it's cool. I enjoyed it. It's called Zombeavers. But then we have 9, Circus of the Dead, Billy Pond's Circus of the Dead, the guy who did Dollboy. This one is like a giant, epic killer clown style movie where there's a bunch of like killer clowns and they're going around and killing people. It might be a little too long for a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. Bill Oberst Jr. is in it, and Bill Oberst Jr. is freaking amazing. He also was in a movie called Coyote. The DVD got released this year, but I had it on my list last year. Really crazy movie, mind art fuck movie. But Circus of the Dead with Bill Oberst Jr. is a really, really crazy movie about the exploits of this group of clowns at the circus, and that kind of blackmail this guy into doing what they want him to do, and the exploits they do. Yeah, really crazy. Creates a lot of characters. Like to see a sequel for sure, maybe a franchise even. But that's Circus of the Dead. Then 8, we have Devil's Business that I believe came out 2 years ago somewhere else, but just got released here by Mondo Macabro. And this one I enjoyed. There's something about, there's a scene in the movie where it's like 10-minute scene where this guy is just telling this story to this kid. This old man's telling this creepy story to the kid, and that's something that just really captures like creepiness to me. You know, not showing anything, just like the facial expressions and the story building. Has anyone ever told you like a really scary story and you start to lean in, you're starting to get creeped in and stuff like that? And there's a good scene with that. And essentially, it's about these two hitmen, one old grizzled guy and a young kid, who go in to take this person out they think is going to be an easy gig, but it's not necessarily an easy gig. I don't want to give too much away, but there is a little creature in it and things like that. But really cool horror movie, kind of scary actually, to be honest. It's The Devil's Business. Check that one out. Number 7, Cheap Thrills. This is definitely fringe genre of horror, but essentially it's kind of like the movie 13 Sins, which I guess is like 13 Game of Death, which is, I guess, is like another movie that came before it, 13 Samedi or something like that. I can't remember the titles exactly. Somebody was telling me about it the other day. But 13 Sins was okay. Didn't make my top 50. But Cheap Thrills essentially is... this guy, these two guys, this guy's down on his luck, and he sees an old friend in a bar he hasn't seen in like 15, 20 years, and this other guy notices him, and he starts hanging out with him, buying him drinks, and he's like, well, slap that waitress's ass for $50, and of course things escalate, and it turn on each other, and they start doing really crazy, disgusting things. Definitely a dark comedy, very sick though in a lot of ways, and very entertaining, and a really good movie, and the ending is just like, oh wow. You know it's going to be bad, but you still are like, wow, that's pretty bad. But Cheap Thrills, really, really cool movie, really great. Then we have Under the Skin, which I really dug. This movie is very slow. It's not going to be for everybody. But Scarlett Johansson, I never read the book. I didn't even know it was based on a book. But Scarlett Johansson is like this alien who kind of abducts men, and they kind of disappear into this void. She's obviously using them for something. And she becomes kind of like, it's kind of her struggle becoming, relating to human beings and kind of becoming human in a lot of ways. But I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, it's really well shot, really well made in a lot of ways. It is well shot and well made. And there's a scene in that movie that I just was floored by, because I was really like, that is crazy that they did that. Like, I remember just watching the scene and like tearing up because it was so powerful with the disfigured guy, and that's gonna be the scene that everyone talks about, just because it's a really well-made scene and just really different. But that is Under the Skin. I would recommend it. Not for everybody, like I said. Some people, and it's just a movie that people could argue about, and no one really would be wrong. I don't think. It's just not for everybody, And then we have 5, Savaged. This one I really enjoyed. I don't know if it's been released here yet. It will be eventually. It is going to be called Something Else, I believe here. It's essentially about this deaf woman who is she's going across country, and she's raped and killed by this group of pieces of shit. And they bury her in a shallow grave, and this modern-day shaman finds her, and he feels bad. He tries to bring her back, but he brings this spirit of this old like chief and warrior into her, who hates the family that did this to her. So essentially they're like this like force that wants these people dead, and it's like I Spit on Your Grave supernatural style. So she goes around killing them in a Native American style, like savage ways. I mean, like, that's why it's called savage, but like scalping them, and like bow and arrow and things, not crossbow, but bow and arrow and things like that. And it turns into like a kind of fast-paced action movie, but it starts off really brutal, really gratuitous, and with the rape and things like that. Well, I remember it's very cruel. It's a very cruel movie, and the revenge is action-packed and kind of cool. Of course, her boyfriend comes looking for her. Also, I enjoyed that there was a cop in the film, and he wasn't like a stereotypical, I'm a big piece of crap, crooked cop, which we see a lot in almost every movie nowadays. But that is Savaged. Really dug that. Number 4, Late Phases, which is about an old man who goes to a retirement home. He's blind with his dog, and the first day he's attacked by this werewolf, and he's figuring it out. He figures it had to be a werewolf. He figures everything out. He starts snooping around the town blind and, mingling in with the community, and he figures he's got like a month to prepare for this next werewolf attack. But I really enjoyed this one. Really cool movie. Really great lead performance by the lead guy. I don't remember his name, but this one's a great one, and I really like this movie, and it's hard to find a great werewolf movie, but this one is. And number 3, Blue Ruin, which is by the guy who did Murder Party. Hugest fan of Murder Party. One of my favorite all-time movies ever. And this one is nothing like Murder Party, and I was glad to see him do another movie. I think they're even doing another one, Green Room. I don't know if it's called that. I believe so. But Blue Ruined, Macon Blair stars in this one, and this is definitely a movie about good old traditional American revenge, which I enjoy revenge movies. Always have, always will, I guess. And this one definitely is there's comedy elements in it. Like, it's a very dark comedy. If you would consider something like Fargo a comedy, it's around that level, I guess. But every movie does have comedy in it, but it does have a dark comedic edge to it in ways. But I thought about this for a long time. I know some people thought it was just, you know, and I didn't necessarily see all the comedy elements, but like timing and things like that in there, it was definitely true. I was talking to Dustin, and we were discussing it, and I've discussed it with other people. But it's definitely a crime drama film at first with you know, dark comedy elements. Most things do in that kind of range, but yeah, it's just a great performance by Macon Blair about and it just is how this escalates out of control. But there's lots of good characters in here and lots of great moments. Blue Ruin, really strong, great film. Pieces of Talent. This is number 2. Low budget horror film. This one kind of blew me away. I didn't really know what to expect on the budget. I heard good things, but yeah, this one is about this guy, crazy guy who gives an amazing performance, David Long. He's trying to make his film, and he befriends this girl, and they kind of get really close, and people are dying when he's making this movie, and special effects are really well done, and of course he wants her involved and things like that, obsessive, and it's a really good movie, really good performances, and it creates a unique, you know, characters that, and the fact that the bad guy is very likable in ways. But Pieces of Talent, really good stuff. And I guess one, like I said, a lot of these are interchangeable. Like the top 10, you know, could be like, if I'm, you know, in a different mood, I can be like, well, that's better, this is better, you know. But or even the top 20 or something like that, maybe even more. But one is a movie I want to talk about and give Chocolate, Strawberry, Vanilla. And this one is about, it's just, what it is really kind of like a revenge movie in itself, again, horror style or whatever. But it's about this guy who's an ice cream man, and he's definitely got some sort of learning disability. And he's kind of just like lonely and obsessed with this show, and his fantasy and reality starts to blur again. And the ending packs a lot of punch, and there's like, he has these monologues or just dialogue or these scenes that just made me, like, touched me to no extent. It's a really great film. I'd really suggest checking it out when it comes out. Maybe even just check out one of the trailers. Just a couple trailers around. One's really great, one's okay. But yeah, really great movie. Really great lead performance by, I believe the guy's named Glenn Maynard. And I want to say this one's an Australia one too. You know, Australia and New Zealand have had like, I think like 5 or 6 movies on the list. And that's impressive, you know, considering, I mean, well, like Wolf Creek 2 is on there, Fresh Meat, Housebound, Daddy's Little Girl, Chocolate, Strawberry, Vanilla. Those are all New Zealand or Australian films, I believe. And Chocolate, Strawberry, Vanilla is probably one of my all-time favorite movies. I got to watch it once. I was trying to find somebody else to watch it with me, because so I could watch their, you always enjoy, you watch it once, and then you want to see somebody else watch it and see, like, you almost get off watching them, seeing their reactions and things like that. But yeah, that's my list. I'm sure there's some I'm forgetting. I missed probably a bunch of them. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of them. But there was tons of movies I did watch. I watched lots of stuff that just didn't make my top 50 on the first viewing. But thanks very much for watching, and I'm Mr. Parka. Have a good one.